Hey, remember when the Suicide Prevention and Response Independent Committee report came out and we said it was a big deal? And certain people said that we were fear mongering and it was just suggestions and it doesn't mean anything. So stop fear mongering, you fear mongers. Well, guess what? It's back. What's up, Wolverines? Welcome back to John Crump News, where we discuss 2A issues almost every day. I'm your host, John Crump. I'm an investigative journalist, and I concentrate on the gun space. Today, we're going to be talking about the NDAA of 2024. But before you do that, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want, head over to Black Swan Prints and buy one of these prints. It helps the channel out, and you get something really cool. You got the John Wick back there, the Cobra Commander, the Scorpion, the Punisher, and there will be other ones hitting the store pretty soon. So go to blackswanprints.com. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. Every year they pass it. The NDAA of 2024 doesn't seem like it has any anti-gun stuff in there, but it actually does, and they're trying to sneak it in there in a very sneaky way. This information was found by the Legislative Affairs team of Gun Owners of America, your premier gun rights organization. For full disclosure, I am affiliated with GOA, and I work directly with the Legislative Affairs team. Aiden, Ben, and JP read through thousands of pages of documents, and not only just the NDAA, but they also read through the sentence accompanying, can't even say that, I tried it thousands of times, so deal with it, committee report. And that's where they found the anti-gun stuff on page 229 of that report. Remember the Suicide Prevention and Response Independent Review Committee report? Well, I do, because certain people in the gun community called me a fearmonger for reporting on it because they said it was just a suggestion and it was never going to be implemented and we don't have to worry about it, blah. Well, guess what? The chickens have come home to roost. Because in the Senate accompanying committee report, they actually talk about that. Let me read you exactly what it says. It says, while looking to implement suicide prevention best practices, the committee strongly encourages each of the services to review the Suicide Prevention and Response Independent Review Committee report recommendations. All right, now you might be wondering what those recommendations were, because this is a couple of years ago, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and they are all very anti-gun. So the people that said that there was nothing to worry about because it was just a report, well, here it is. Let me go ahead and talk about the first one. It says repeal Public Law 112-239, Section 1057, and replace it with procedural due process regarding the collection and recording of information relating to the lawful acquisition, possession, ownership, carrying, or other use of a privately owned firearm or weapon by military personnel and civilian employees of the DoD. Basically, what that means is that they're going to make a gun registry, whether you're a citizen or a military member, of all the firearms you own, that you buy, and everything else. There is a law preventing that right now, but they want to repeal that and replace it with this so they can have their own little gun registry. But let's say that law doesn't get replaced. They still want to do basically the same exact thing, but they're going to use different methods to do it. Look at this. In Section 513, it says, direct the Office of the General Counsel to issue guidance that outlines how information about firearms acquisitions, possessions, ownership, carrying, or other use of the privately owned firearms or weapons by military personnel and civilian employees of the DoD can be legally collected by program evaluators. Basically, what they want to do is find a way around the law so they can get that information whether Congress repeals that law or not. And this is very scary because it can be stuck right in the NDAA. Now there is something else, but wait, there's more. Section 516 says develop a national database for recording serial numbers of firearms purchased on DoD property. Basically, you're going to be on a registry if you buy your firearms from a PX or BX, and those have some of the best prices out there. And I buy firearms from bases all the time, so that is a big problem for me. But it goes even deeper, guys. In section 521, it says require anyone living on DoD property and military housing to register all privately owned firearms with the installation's arming authority and securely store all privately owned firearms in a locked safe or with other locking devices. Here, this is a twofer, right? One, they want to make a registry. That is abundantly clear. It said it right there. It said register, which means registry, and you cannot have it readily available. So if you're living alone in military housing and you want to have your gun there just in case someone breaks in and tries to do you harm, you can't do that because this is going to say that you need to have it locked up no matter what. Section 514.1 says require DoD approved firearm safety training, including refresher and sustainment training every 5 years. The DoD should establish policies that require individuals who possess a privately owned or work issued firearm to attend and complete the DoD approved firearm safety training referenced in 514. Refresher and sustainment training should be required at least once every 5 years. This should be required for, at minimum, all military personnel and civilian employees who acquire, own, possess, or carry a firearm. Those who purchase a firearm from DoD property. So if you work for the DoD, you're going to have to go through this training. If you're a military member, you're going to have to go through this training. And if you're a dependent that buys a firearm on base, you're going to have to go through this training, which I don't think is constitutional, and I think kind of violates a lot of laws, but who knows? It is a really weird world out there, but there's more. Section 515 implements a 7-day waiting period for any firearm purchased on DoD property. Waiting periods, they suck. And for firearms, they really do suck because if you need a gun because you're being stalked or whatever, you want it now. You don't want it 7 days down the road. And now look at this. Section 517 implement a 4-day waiting period for ammunition purchases on DoD property. Basically, if you want to go shoot and you want to go pick up some ammunition, you're not going to be able to right away. You have to wait 4 days, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know of anywhere where a waiting period for ammunition would change anything. Section 518 says on DoD property, raise the minimum age for purchasing firearms and ammunition to 25 years. Okay, now we hear the people on the left talk a lot about weapons of war. Weapons of war on the streets, this and that. But guess what? These guys are actually carrying real weapons of war. And yet you want to prevent them from owning civilian firearms? That is absolutely ridiculous. Now let's talk about the gun-free zones. Section 522 says establish DoD policies restricting the possession and storage of privately owned firearms in military barracks and dormitories. Basically, those are going to be the specialists and the airmen and like the lower ranking people that can't afford how to live off base. But yet now you are going to take these guys who fight for my freedom and your freedom and say that they don't have freedom themselves, that they don't have a Second Amendment right. This is absolutely ridiculous, but it even goes further, and this might actually violate Bruin. Section 523 says prohibit the possession of privately owned firearms that is not related to the performance of official duties on DoD property by anyone who does not live on DoD property. Basically, what this is saying is that you're not allowed to carry a firearm. You're not entitled to a firearm outside the home, which is a huge violation of the Bruin decision. So, what do we guys think? This is going to try to be snuck into the NDAA, but we are aware of it and we will fight back and stop it. This video is kind of long for me, but you needed to know all this information. So stay ever vigilant, stay ever free, keep in the fight. I am out of here, Wolverine's mother.